Hello, and thank you for turning to Home Helpers for help in caring for your loved one. We at Home Helpers know the challenges of being a caregiver. We see it every day in the homes of families we support, and we want you to know that you are not alone. In fact, nearly 15% of Americans are providing care for an aging relative. While that may not be a surprise, the amount of care is. According to the American Society on Aging, the average family caregiver provides over 24 hours of care per week. For many, those hours come on top of a full-time job and responsibilities at their own home. For some, the work week is even longer. 1 in 4 family caregivers spends more than 41 hours each week caring for an aging loved one. This is the epidemic of aging. As a society, we talk often about 10,000 people a day turning 65 and the fact that people are living longer. But all too often, we don't look at the ripple effect this has across all people in our country. The following video illustrates how the aging epidemic affects one family.
Herbie, I got a phone call from Shan
Shan,
that you refuse to go home.
That's why I booked.
What town are we in now, do you know?
That's a bad question. I can't remember it for the life of me. Good.
Yeah?
Where is that lady? Oh, there she is.
My grandpa has dementia.
What does that mean?
He's crazy.
Is it possible at all to continue with into the written?
I'm doing yoga in the living room. You gonna come do yoga? Oh, you got that Einstein look going. You didn't tell me you were a mad scientist. We're full thrust into the sandwich generation. It's people who are taking care of their children and taking care of their parents. And apparently I'm one of something like 20 million Americans who find themselves in that position. Do you have it? I want you to do it yourself. As much as you can, you do yourself. Good. We uprooted our lives and we moved at 3,000 miles in order to be there to support my father. It's like a prime time of my life and I basically gave it away.
He can still, most days, most meals, feed himself, although he needs help. He can watch TV, but he can't use the channel changer. He's pretty helpless in a way.
His physical needs are actually going to get greater as time goes on.
Okay, go ahead, you can sit down. Oh! Are you okay? All right.
The kids are being given this lesson, this life lesson, and what it means to care for someone, what it means to come through for someone else.
It's pretty cool having my grandpa in the house with us, but it's a little stressful for my parents.
It's enriching. I will have no regrets when I look back on this, but damn, it's hard while you're in it. We're about to sell my dad's house, and he's been in that house for about 40 years. I think it took a huge toll on him.
Better realize that it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
This morning when we went downstairs, we found him on the floor. And he'd probably been on the floor for a number of hours.
Herb has gone into a free fall since he went into the hospital. We're right now at a loss of how to deal with his medical condition.
I don't know how long we will be able to handle it at home, quite honestly. I don't know how we're going to function and, you know, maintain our lives, you know, as he slips.
The family in this video is devoted, caring, and compassionate, and that is where we see the caregiving dilemma begin. Family caregivers often start out helping in small ways. Then as care escalates, the family member becomes dependent on the caregiver, and all too often the caregiver cannot sustain the level of care they are trying to provide. This is the caregiving dilemma. Tensions quickly grow out of this dilemma as the caregiver feels like they have lost control of their time and how that time is spent. All too often, neither side can see that the other is dealing with the exact same issues. As his or her needs grow, the senior also loses control and choice over his or her life. The caregiving dilemma has a real impact on the entire family. 22% of caregivers believe their health has suffered since becoming a caregiver. 60% report having to modify their work schedule, their duties, or are using company time to coordinate care. 17% of family caregivers report being in poor health themselves. Meanwhile, the senior has lost independence, which often leads to depression. At its worst, we see complete role reversals, with the aging relative becoming now the child and the adult child assuming the role of parent. Too often, this goes unrepaired. The solution to this dilemma is to restore choice and control for both the caregiver and the care recipient. That is where home helpers comes in. The first step toward restoring this balance is accepting that there is a need for help. Often a caregiver is so overwhelmed they cannot see what is really happening. Likewise, the senior might not be aware of the stress that the current situation is having on the caregiver. After the need for help has been identified, the next step is to talk about options. As a caregiver, be open and realistic about what you are willing to do and what you cannot do. Likewise, give your loved one the chance to talk about what he does and does not want you to do. The care provider should suggest that sustainable solutions will give the senior more independence. A home helper's caregiver is there when needed, not when it fits into the family caregiver's busy schedule. The biggest barrier a care recipient typically has is the fear of change. So suggest a trial period where the choice can be reviewed by both parties and mutually decided upon. This opens the door to communication and provides more choices and control for both sides. If you or a family you know is facing the caregiving dilemma, we at Home Helpers are happy to help. Whether it's for an hour, an afternoon, or 24 hours a day, Home Helpers' professionally trained caregivers can make life easier for you and for your loved one.